I'm sitting here today with Joe Donazzi, co-owner and co-founder of A Sketch of New York Productions.
I'm also the CEO and Chief Artistic Director. We are a theater company that's been in operation for 7.5 years now.
You've basically been working for yourself for the last 7 years.
That's right.
What's that been like?
Incredibly challenging in some ways, and incredibly freeing in others. Neither I nor my partner have had survival jobs since, I guess the last thing that counts was we served a stint as Macy's elves during a Christmas season.
That actually sounds like fun, though.
It was. In some ways, they named a rule after me. You're not allowed to wear your hat backwards anymore. I would wear my pom-pom dangling in front of my face
funny.
and make a big bit out of trying
That's
to get
really
it out.
funny.
I've always been a theater person. I've always been, drawn to performance. Besides that, I'm also a writer, performer in my own right, voice actor. I also am a professional stage combat choreographer. I teach stage combat. I'm the first openly transgender fight director with Broadway show credits. I have an off-Broadway show that I'm assistant fight director on right over there. But primarily, this is what has been, I guess what you could say is close to a breadwinner as I get.
How did you get started running your own company?
When I first moved to New York City, within 2 weeks of moving here, I auditioned for a little sketch comedy show, not altogether unlike the one that we do, at a small theater right around the corner from here. I got the gig, and during the course of the 2-week rehearsal process, I managed to talk my way into a permanent position at that theater. Because the director of that show, the guy who ran that theater, was out of his mind. Just an absolute maniac. He had zero control over his anxieties, and he desperately needed somebody around to help him function like an adult.
Oh, wow.
So I became his full-time assistant. Painting the place, hanging lights, running box offices, writing his emails for him. I worked for him for about 2.5 years and learned how it was done. And then I stopped working for him, struck off on my own to make it to the entertainment industry. Met my partner, we started dating, we moved in together, and it was actually in the Macy's Santaland break room where, we'd been scraping and scrambling, auditioning and trying to get other things. And I remember I was just sitting in the break room with my head in my hands going, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore, but I do know how to do one thing. And I think it's time to pull the trigger on it. So I came to the venue owner here and I asked him if I could rent a theater because I'm going to try and do something. It wasn't until like 6 years later that we actually became incorporated. We're now a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to trying to put a sense of community, a sense of collaboration, a sense of cooperation back into the New York City theater scene, which is the reason New York theater became the capital of the theater world in the first place, and it also hasn't really existed since the 80s. Founding my own business was really just the momentum of do a show, use that show to pay for the next show, use that show to pay for the next show. This is working. Oh my God, this is working. And, trying to keep the community engaged. We have a couple of shows that we do consistently. We have what we call our flagship show, A Sketch of New York. We also do what we call alumni shows every once in a while, where we invite people who have done the base show before back to try and create a whole new show. Our Christmas show we call Christmas Time in the City. We have another random show that we do unscheduled every once in a while, and we're about to do our second annual Pride Month show.
Oh, I can't wait. I want to come.
Please do. It's going to be performing on Pride weekend. We're going to try and schedule it so that it doesn't conflict with any Pride events or parades or anything like that.
The parade is on the 25th or 26th?
Something
24?
like that. It's somewhere in that ballpark. That weekend.
We'll figure it out when
here
we get there.
at the Producers Club.
It's not like we're going to miss it.
No, yeah. No, we're not. We have what we call our alumni group, where we try and put every single person who has ever worked with us in touch professionally with each other, so that they have the opportunity to collaborate and build on each other, skill share, and create opportunities for each other and seek opportunities from each other.
A lot of success that comes out of, a creative career comes down to collaborating with other
100%.
creative people.
And especially in theater, there is a weird mentality of you gotta do it for yourself and step on people's necks to get it.
I don't like that.
And it doesn't work.
Mm-mm.
It's never worked.
No, theater is a group project.
100%.
Yeah.
You can't do anything unless you have somebody who has the skills you lack.
Mhm.
Nobody can do everything.
Sometimes I like to believe I can do everything.
Me too, but
But no, you're right. It needs to be a collaborative effort.
We've tried to found our company on those premises, on those principles. We've gotten a certain amount of prestige and renown at this point. People have called our show a rite of passage. You are not an actor in New York City until you've done a sketch of New York. I've heard people tell me.
Oh my God, I love that.
I don't know how much they're blowing smoke up my ass, but I do.
You've really built yourself a community here.
We try. We're trying to create opportunities for people and empower other people to create opportunities for each other.
You transitioned while you were running this business, didn't you?
Yes. I first realized I was trans before starting the business, but I did it closeted for 6 years, about, and then transitioned. And I've been out for a year and a half now. And if anything, it's been better. Small theater in particular, until you can afford to put up billboards with movie stars' faces on them up in Times Square, 100% of people who come to see theater hear about it through word of mouth, who hear about the show and go, that sounds like a lot of fun, I'm going to come and see that. So people, generally speaking, only invite people to a show that they feel safe and confident in. And if anything, transitioning has seemingly made people feel safer around me. It's certainly the vibe I've been getting. And if anything, our attendance numbers have been going up since then. We're doing something right. But I've felt an overwhelming positivity. I mean, not 100%, of course, because, there are always stupid people around. But in this industry, I mean, theater's been queer since forever. The Pride Month show is actually a prime example of that. Last year was our first one, and I had only been out of the closet for like 6 months at the time.
That's kind of scary.
It so was. I mean, just from a sketch comedy perspective, I had so many things in my mind that I had been thinking, because being queer is hilarious.
It is.
It's so funny.
And it's a lot of fun to joke about with each other.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, what I discovered doing the Pride Month show last year was that there are a lot of queer people out there who are desperate to talk about it and to laugh about it, because so rarely do we feel like we are allowed to be funny about this objectively hilarious experience. This is hilarious. Look at me. I'm going through puberty at the age of 38. That's funny. You cannot deny that's funny. We always feel like we have to be so serious about it, especially when you look at the news, and it is a serious topic, and that's why satire and comedy is so essential, because it is a serious topic.
It's almost a part of our healing.
I think so.
Right?
The healing power of comedy is something I talk about a lot.
What advice would you give to other trans or queer people, or any other member of our community who wants to take that leap and start their own business?
I mean, I'm not going to pretend that starting your own business is easy. Far, far from it. It's an incredible challenge. And I did have a lot of things in my favor. I did have a lot of privilege for my own self in the ability to do that. Money was not one of them, though. I had $7 in my pocket when we started this company.
Wow.
And that $7 had to last me until the show started and we were able to start, opening the box office.
And you did it anyway.
Oh, I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Much like transitioning, I did what I ultimately felt like I had to do. People have called me brave for doing both of those things. I don't think either of those things was brave. I was just doing what I ultimately didn't have a choice but to do.
Yeah, I know that. I know that feeling a lot. I really hate it when people call me brave. I'm like, what else was I supposed to do? There was no other option, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't take bravery to do this.
I completely agree.
Shouldn't.
As far as starting your own business, yeah, it depends in part on what the business is. Capital is always a concern, of course, but it is doable. Much like transitioning, it is doable. Okay, here's a bit of advice. Much like transitioning, the fears we build up in our own hearts and minds are always bigger and scarier than the reality.
That is true.
God knows, I was petrified to even walk out of the house in women's jeans once upon a time. But walk around in Times Square, center of the world, nobody notices. Mm-hmm. Once you're on the other side of it, you tend to ask yourself what you were so scared of.
Yeah, I agree.
And the only thing that truly determines success that I've determined is tenacity. Continuing to do something, even and especially when other debatably smarter people would have given up a long time ago.
Debatably smarter. Yeah.
Objectively smarter, I'll be honest. But it's doable.
Mm-hmm.